Welcome, dear friend, to Sleep Documentary TV. Welcome to this quiet space, a haven crafted just for you, far from the noise and the hurry of the waking world. It is time now to let go of the day, to release its triumphs and its trials, its questions and its demands. There is nothing left for you to do but to rest. Find your comfortable place. Let your body grow heavy, sinking softly into the surface beneath you. Take a slow, deep breath in. Breathe in calm, and breathe out the day. Breathe in peace, and breathe out the noise. Good. Your only task now is to listen to the sound of my voice as we drift back through the mists of time. We are leaving the familiar world behind, traveling to a place of gaslight and cobblestones, of horse-drawn carriages and whispered ambitions. We are going back to Paris, but not the Paris you might picture. Our destination is a Paris on the cusp of a great transformation, a city of artists and poets, of thinkers and builders. A city that did not yet know its own heart, its own future silhouette against the sky. The year is 1884. The air in Paris is a symphony of sounds, a gentle chorus of life. Listen closely. Can you hear it? The rhythmic clatter of horses' hooves on stone streets. A steady, calming beat. The distant, melodic call of a street vendor selling his wares. The soft rustle of long skirts on the pavement. And the low murmur of conversations from cafes spilling out onto the boulevards. The light here is different too. It is a soft golden light cast by thousands of gas lamps that flicker to life as dust settles over the city. They paint the stone facades of the grand buildings in hues of honey and amber, creating long, dancing shadows that stretch and sway like sleepy giants. The moon hangs high above the Seine, its reflection shimmering on the dark, gentle current of the river. There is no great iron spire reaching for the stars. The skyline is a proud, even line of elegant stone, a testament to centuries of history, of kings and revolutions, of beauty and order. Life moves at a different pace here. It is a pace set by footstep, by the turn of a carriage wheel, by the patient hands of a clockmaker. News travels not in an instant, but on the printed pages of newspapers, read aloud in parlors and cafes, debated and discussed over hours. The world feels both vast and intimate, a place of grand empires and quiet personal dreams. And in this city of shimmering gaslight and quiet ambition lives a man named Gustave Eiffel. He is not a young man, full of restless fire. He is in his 50s, a man of accomplishment and quiet renown. His name is already respected in the world of engineering. He has built bridges that leap across wide valleys, elegant and strong, their iron arches like powerful muscles of industry. He designed the intricate, hidden skeleton that holds up the majestic statue of liberty, a gift to a new world. He is a master of metal, a man who understands its strength, its potential, its secret language. But tonight we find him not in his bustling office, surrounded by blueprints and calculations. We find him in the quiet solitude of his study, in his handsome home on the Rue de Rabelais. The hour is late. The rest of the city is beginning to fall silent. A single lamp on his desk casts a warm, circular glow on a scattered collection of papers, but his attention is not on them. He stands by the tall window, looking out over the slumbering city. Gustave is a man of precision, of numbers and angles. His mind is a marvel of logic, Yet behind the brilliant engineer there's a dreamer. He possesses a quiet, soulful artistry. When he looks at a bridge, he sees more than just a means of crossing a river. He sees a line of grace drawn against the landscape. He sees a kind of poetry in the calculated curve of an arch, a harmony in the lattice of iron beams. He believes that structure is not just about function, it is about beauty. It is about lifting the human spirit. And lately, a feeling of gentle restlessness has settled in his heart. He has achieved much. His reputation is secure. But a quiet question whispers in the back of his mind. What next? What is the ultimate expression of this incredible material? This iron that he has dedicated his life to, this modern material so strong, so light, so full of possibility. The grand stone cathedrals of the past took centuries to build, their beauty born of immense weight and darkness. But iron could soar. It could be a skeleton of light and air. He turns from the window, his gaze falling upon a small wooden table in the corner of the room. On it sits something precious, something that holds the key to everything. It is a simple object, a toy built not of iron or steel, but of delicate thin strips of balsa wood. It is a tower, perhaps 2 feet high, a complex, intricate lattice of tiny beams glued together with painstaking care. It is a marvel of fragility and strength. This is our inciting spark. This is the heart of our story. A few years earlier, his beloved daughter, Claire, had been confined to her bed with a lingering illness. She was a bright, curious child, and the long, quiet days of recovery weighed heavily on her. Gustave, a loving father, would spend hours by her bedside, reading to her, telling her stories of the great structures he was building around the world. One afternoon, to pass the time, he brought a bundle of balsa wood sticks and a pot of glue to her room. He had an idea. He would show her the principles of engineering, the magic of how simple, weak pieces could be joined together to create something of incredible strength. "We will build a tower, my Claire," he had said, his voice a soft rumble. "A tower to the ceiling." And so they began. Day after day they worked together. Gustave, with his large, capable hands, would show her how to create a wide, stable base. He explained how the triangle was the strongest shape, how a lattice of triangles could distribute weight and resist the forces of wind and gravity. Claire, with her small, nimble fingers, would carefully apply the glue, her brow furrowed in concentration. She was fascinated. She called the tiny wooden beams bones. "Papa," she would ask, her voice still weak but full of wonder, "how can so many little bones hold up so much air?" Gustave smiled. "It is not the bones themselves, my love," he explained gently. "It is the space between them. The strength is in the design, in how they support each other. The emptiness is as important as the structure." They built their tower slowly, methodically. It grew taller, more intricate. It was a painstaking process, a meditation in wood and glue. As they worked, Gustave saw the structure not just through the eyes of an engineer, but through the eyes of his daughter. He saw the play of light through the delicate lattice work. He saw the elegant patterns the crisscrossing beams created, like intricate lacework against the wallpaper of her room. He saw how something so strong could also appear so incredibly light, almost weightless. The tower was their shared secret, a quiet project that filled the long still afternoons. And as the tower grew, so did Claire's strength. When it was finally finished, standing proudly on her bedside table, a delicate spire of wood and air, her illness had passed. The tower became a symbol for Gustave, a monument to his daughter's recovery, a testament to the power of patience, precision, and love. Now, years later, in the quiet of his study, Gustave walks over to that small table. He reaches out a hand, his fingers gently tracing the lines of the balsa wood tower. He feels the memory of that time, the quiet joy of creating something beautiful with his daughter. He remembers her question, how can so many little bones hold up so much air? And in that moment, the seed of an idea, long dormant, begins to stir. The government has just announced a grand competition. They are planning a great universal exposition for the year 1889, a fair to celebrate the centenary of the French Revolution, to showcase the genius and industrial mind of France to the entire world. The centerpiece is to be a magnificent monument on the Champ de Mars. The challenge is to erect a tower of unprecedented height, a tower 300 meters tall, 1,000 feet. The very number seems audacious, impossible. The tallest structure in the world is the Washington Monument, a great stone obelisk barely half that height. Most architects and engineers in Paris are thinking in stone, the traditional material of monuments. They imagine thick, heavy columns, massive arches, a solid, earth-bound giant. But Gustave stands in the lamplight, his fingers still resting on the delicate wooden toy. He is thinking of iron. He is thinking of a lattice of triangles. He is thinking of a structure made not of solid mass, but of elegantly arranged space. He is thinking of Claire's bones holding up the air. He closes his eyes, and in his mind's eye he sees it. He sees the balsa wood tower, his daughter's toy, growing, expanding, soaring. He sees it rendered in the rich, dark strength of puddled iron. He imagines a tower not of solid stone, blocking out the light, but a transparent structure, a filigree of metal through which the Parisian sky could be seen. A tower that did not dominate the city with its weight, but elevated it with its lightness. A tower that was not just tall, but elegant. A structure that would be a testament not to the power of emperors or kings, but to the genius of the human mind, to the beauty of mathematics, to the poetry of engineering. A slow smile touches Gustave Eiffel's lips. The restlessness in his soul begins to quiet, replaced by a deep, resonant hum of purpose. He sees the path ahead. It will be long. It will be fraught with challenges, with doubters, with scorn. The world is not yet ready for such a vision. It is a vision born from a father's love, from the quiet hours in a sick child's room, from a delicate toy made of balsa wood and glue. He does not yet see the finished icon, the beloved symbol of a nation. He does not hear the millions of voices that will whisper its name in awe. He sees only the problem, the beautiful, elegant problem. How to build a tower of bones. How to make iron dance. How to hold up the air. And he knows, with a certainty that settles deep in his soul, that he is the man to solve it. The dream has found its dreamer. And here, in the quiet heart of a sleeping Paris, the story of the Eiffel Tower truly begins. The first silent step has been taken. The spark has been ignited. And now, my friend, as Monsieur Eiffel begins to dream on paper, it is time for you too, to drift deeper, deeper into your own peaceful rest. And so, the quiet hum of creation begins. Let the sound of my voice be a gentle guide, leading you further away from the shores of wakefulness into the deep, calm ocean of sleep. Let each word be a softer ripple, washing over you, carrying you deeper into our story, deeper into your rest. There is nothing you need to do. Just be here. Just breathe. The spark that was lit in Gustave Eiffel's study did not erupt into a roaring flame. It was instead a steady, quiet pilot light, a persistent warmth that began to consume his every waking thought. The grand competition for the 1889 exposition was now public, and the challenge echoed in the halls of every engineering firm and architectural salon in Paris. A tower of 300 meters. The idea was intoxicating, a call to glory. But for Gustave, it was more than that. It was a personal quest. The vision of that light, airy structure, born from the memory of his daughter's balsa wood toy, became his silent obsession. The world outside saw Gustave Eiffel, the accomplished and respected businessman, the master bridge builder. But in the late hours, after the city had hushed its hurried rhythm, another Gustave emerged. The dreamer, the artist, the poet of irony. This large desk, usually a model of organized efficiency, was now a beautiful chaos of creation. Sheets of fine vellum were covered in a delicate web of lines, faint pencil sketches of arches, pylons, and intricate lattices. The air in his study was thick with the scent of graphite and paper, and the only sound was the soft, rhythmic scratch of his pencil or whisper against the silence of the night. He was not alone in this endeavor. His firm, Eiffel et Compagnie, was a powerhouse of talent. He gathered his most trusted minds, the brilliant structural engineers Émile Nouguier and Maurice Koechlin. They were men like him, men who understood the language of numbers, the immutable laws of physics. In the bright, airy drafting room of his company headquarters, he laid out his initial vision. Not a vision of stone, but of iron. He spoke of the balsa wood tower, of the importance of the spaces, of the lightness he wanted to achieve. He spoke of a pylon with 4 great legs, spread wide at the base like a pyramid, tapering elegantly as they soared into the sky, meeting in a single, triumphant point. At first, Nouguier and Koechlin were methodical, practical. Their initial sketches were functional. They drew a tall, somewhat awkward structure, more like a massive bridge pier set on its end. It was technically sound, a marvel of engineering, but it lacked a soul. It was a skeleton, stark and unadorned. Gustave studied their drawings, his brow furrowed. He appreciated the brilliance of the calculations, the integrity of the design. But his heart was not stirred. "No," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "It is not enough that it stands. It must have grace. It must speak to the sky." He knew that for a project of this scale, of this audacity, engineering alone would not be enough. It needed the touch of an artist. He brought in another man, an architect named Stephen Sylvestre. Sylvestre was a man with a keen eye for aesthetics, for flourish and decoration that could transform a mere structure into a monument. Together, this small team entered a period of intense focused collaboration. It was a quiet dance of minds. Koechlin and Nouguier would calculate the immense forces of wind and gravity, their pencils flying across logarithmic tables, ensuring the tower's strength. Then Sylvester would take their rigid geometric forms and soften them. He proposed the grand, decorative arches at the base, not as structural necessities, but as a kind of embrace, a monumental gateway to welcome the world. He suggested the pavilions on the first level, places of leisure and wonder. He sketched the cupola at the very top, a graceful lantern for the pinnacle of Paris. Night after night they worked. Gustave was the conductor of this quiet symphony. He would move between the drafting tables, studying the drawings, asking questions, pushing his team to refine, to simplify, to beautify. He was relentless in his pursuit of perfection. He would pick up a drawing, hold it to the lamplight, and his eyes would trace every line. "The curve of this arch," he might murmur, "can we make it more lyrical? Or the density of this lattice here? It feels too heavy. It should feel like lace against the clouds." The process was slow, methodical, a journey of 1,000 tiny decisions. Each beam, each joint, each bolt was considered, drawn, and calculated. They were not just designing a tower, they were inventing a new language of construction, a new aesthetic for the industrial age. But as the vision on paper grew more bold, more beautiful, the chorus of doubt from the outside world grew louder. Paris at that time was a city that revered its history, its stone monuments that spoke of a glorious past. The idea of a 300-meter tower made of stark, black iron was not just novel to many. It was horrifying. In the elegant salons and cafes of the city, the project became a subject of derision. Artists, writers, and the cultural elite of Paris were appalled. They called it a monstrous skeleton, a truly tragic street lamp, a gigantic factory chimney, they scoffed, that would dominate their beloved city, belching soot and ruining the delicate, historic skyline. They imagined it as a cold, soulless intrusion, a monument to vulgar industry rather than to refined art. A committee of 300, led by some of the most famous names in French culture, including the writer Guy de Maupassant and the composer Charles Gounod, was formed. They penned a furious, passionate letter of protest, which they published in the newspaper Le Temps. They called the tower a useless and monstrous creation, an odious column of bolted metal. They lamented the barbarous vision that would humiliate the noble facades of Notre Dame, the Louvre, and the Arc de Triomphe. The city, they wailed, would be forever disfigured by this black and gigantic factory chimney. Gustave read these words. He heard the scorn, the ridicule. Any other man might have been wounded, might have doubted his own vision. But Gustave possessed a quiet, unshakable self-confidence. He was not an arrogant man, but he had a deep faith in his work, in the laws of mathematics, and in the nascent beauty of this new industrial world. He did not see ugliness in his iron lattice, he saw honesty. He saw an elegant expression of the forces it was designed to withstand. He did not engage in loud public debates. That was not his way. Instead, he responded with the calm, measured voice of an engineer. He wrote a reply, not fiery or defensive, but logical and assured. He explained the mathematical beauty of the tower's curves, how they were dictated by the need to resist the wind. "The tower will be the tallest edifice ever raised by man," he wrote. "Will it not therefore be grandiose in its own way? Why would what is admirable in Egypt become hideous and ridiculous in Paris?" He knew that words alone would not convince them. His true answer would be written not on paper but in iron against the sky. He shielded his team from the public outcry, creating a bubble of quiet focus within their workshop. The scorn from the outside only seemed to deepen their resolve, to bind them more closely together. The dream was theirs, and they would protect it. There were moments of doubt, of course, not of the vision, but of the execution. The sheer scale of the project was staggering. They were venturing into the unknown. No one had ever built this high. The wind forces at 300 meters. The expansion and contraction of the metal with the changing temperatures. The challenge of laying a foundation strong enough to support 10,000 tons of iron. Every problem was new. Every solution had to be invented. One evening, Kuchlin sat hunched over his calculations, a look of deep concern on his face. The potential for the tower to sway in high winds was greater than they had anticipated. For hours he and Gustave worked, poring over the numbers, sketching new cross-bracing patterns, refining the elegant taper of the structure. It was a quiet, intense battle of intellect against the invisible forces of nature. And then, in the small hours of the morning, a breakthrough. A subtle change in the geometry of the lattice, a redistribution of the load pads, and the problem was solved. There was no loud celebration, only a quiet nod of understanding between the two men, a shared sense of relief and accomplishment. This was how the dream was built, not with grand gestures, but with small, patient victories won in the stillness of the night. Finally, after thousands of hours of drawing, calculating, and refining, the final design was complete. It was a masterpiece of more than 5,300 detailed drawings. Every one of the tower's 18,038 individual iron pieces was drawn and specified. Every one of the 2.5 million rivet holes was precisely marked. Gustave Eiffel and his team had done more than just design a tower. They had envisioned every step of its creation, from the forging of the first iron beam to the placement of the final rivet. The idea born from a delicate balsa wood toy was now fully formed on paper, a testament to years of quiet struggle, patient refinement, and unwavering belief. The paper dream was ready. The next chapter, the symphony of making, was about to begin. And as the first plans are sent to the forges, you can allow your own mind to soften, to let go of plans and calculations, and to drift deeper still into the peaceful stillness of the night. Drift deeper now into the gentle currents of your sleep. Let the world of paper and plans dissolve and allow your mind to journey with us into the heart of creation. Feel the story unfolding around you, not as a distant tale, but as a sensory experience. No, we are entering the workshop, the forge, the very birthplace of a great tower. There is nothing to do, nothing to solve. Just feel, just listen, just be. The dream had been dreamed. The calculations were completed. Now the tower had to move from the quiet sanctuary of the drafting room into the loud, vibrant physical world. The year is 1887. The site on the Champ de Mars, a large public green space in the heart of Paris, is a scene of immense and organized activity. But the true genesis, the birth of the tower's many pieces, is happening just outside the city, in the workshops of Levallois-Perret, the home of Eiffel et Compagnie. Imagine stepping into this vast, cavernous space. It is like a cathedral dedicated to industry. The air itself is alive, thick with a symphony of sounds. It is not a jarring noise, but a rhythmic, methodical chorus of creation. Listen. Hear the deep resonant clang of hammers on iron, a sound that rings with purpose. Hear the steady, percussive hiss of the steam engines that power the great machines. Above it all, the fiery roar of the forges, great brick furnaces, where men, their faces glowing in the orange light, coax life into raw dark metal. A journalist of the time, Émile Goudot, described it as being deafened by the din of metal screaming beneath the hammer. The smell here is elemental, unforgettable. It is a sharp, clean scent of hot iron being quenched in water, sending up clouds of billowing steam. It is a smell of coal smoke, what Goudot called a thick cloud of tar and coal smoke. A gritty, earthy perfume that hangs in the air, and beneath it all the smell of hot oil used to lubricate the giant drills and presses that shape the metal with relentless precision. This is not a place of chaotic labor, but of meticulous practiced skill. It is a ballet of making. Gustave Eiffel, a constant, calming presence, moves through the workshop. He is not a distant commander, but a hands-on leader. He knows his men by name. He understands their craft. He watches as giant cranes lift massive iron girders, swinging them through the air as gently as a conductor's baton. Focus on the materials. The journey of each piece of the tower begins with puddled iron, a special kind of wrought iron chosen for its purity and strength. It arrives at the workshop in rough, heavy bars. Gustave insisted on this material. It was more durable, more resistant to the elements than cast iron, more flexible and reliable than the new material, steel. It was a material he knew, a material he trusted. Watch as a team of men, their muscles gleaming with sweat in the firelight, guide one of these bars into the heart of a furnace. They work with a silent understanding, a choreography learned through years of practice. The iron glows. First a dull red, then a cherry orange, and finally a brilliant, almost liquid yellow-white. It is now ready to be shaped. With long-handled tongs they pull the glowing bar from the fire and place it under a massive, steam-powered hammer. The hammer rises and falls with a deafening rhythmic crash, a giant's heartbeat. With each blow, sparks fly in a brilliant shower, like 100 fireflies tagging flight. The iron groans and yields, transformed from a rough block into a precise, angled beam. It is an act of immense power, yet guided by the delicate touch of a craftsman who turned the iron with practiced ease, ensuring every dimension is perfect. Once shaped, the pieces are taken to another part of the workshop, a vast, well-lit hall filled with drafting tables and measuring tools. Here, the precision of the mind meets the raw strength of the forge. Every single one of the 18,038 pieces of the tower is brought here to be marked, using the detailed drawings created by the engineers. Skilled technicians lay out templates on the cooled iron. With chalk and sharp scribing tools, they mark the exact location for every rivet hole, traced out to an accuracy of 1/10 of a millimeter. There is no room for error. A mistake of even a few millimeters here in the workshop could become a disastrous misalignment 100 meters up in the air. This is the genius of Gustave Eiffel's method, a revolutionary approach to construction. He would prefabricate the entire tower in his workshop. It would be a giant kit of parts, all made to an exact specification, all designed to fit together perfectly on site. Nothing would be left to chance. Now follow a marked beam to the drilling machines. These are colossal tools, driven by a complex system of leather belts that snake across the ceiling, all powered by the central steam engine. An operator clamps the heavy iron beam into place. He checks the chalk marks one last time, then engages the drill. With a high-pitched, whining sound, a hardened steel bit descends, biting into the dark metal. A spiral of silver shaving, a metallic curl, falls to the floor as the drill pushes through, creating a perfectly clean, precise hole. This process is repeated again and again, thousands, millions of times, a testament to patience and precision. While the iron pieces are being forged and drilled, another team is at work in a different corner of the workshop. These are the riveters. Riveting was the technology of the age, the method that held together the great bridges, ships, and boilers of the Industrial Revolution. The rivets for the tower are small, soft iron pins. They are heated in a small portable forge until they glow bright orange. A team of 4 men work in perfect sync. The heater pulls a glowing rivet from the coals with his tongs. With a practiced flick of the wrist, he tosses it through the air. The catcher stands ready, 20 or 30 feet away, and expertly catches the fiery pin in a metal cone. He quickly knocks out any lingering embers and inserts the hot rivet into the waiting hole, connecting 2 pre-drilled pieces of iron. On either side, 2 bashers swing heavy hammers in a rapid, alternating rhythm. The sound is a distinctive, high-pitched rat-a-tat-tat, a sound that will soon become the signature anthem of the tower's construction. As they hammer, they form a smooth, rounded head on the tail of the rivet. As the rivet cools, it shrinks, pulling the 2 pieces of iron together with immense force, creating a bond that is stronger than the metal itself. This process is repeated over and over, a dance of fire, metal, and muscle. It is this team of riveters who will eventually become the heroes of the construction site, working fearlessly at dizzying heights. But here in the workshop, they are honing their skills, building smaller sub-assemblies, sections of lattice that will later be hoisted into place. Gustave watches it all, his keen eyes missing nothing. He sees the beauty in the process. He sees the harmony in the coordinated efforts of hundreds of men. He sees his paper dream taking on weight, and texture, and temperature. It is no longer a collection of lines on vellum. It is now a growing family of iron beams, girders, and braces, each one a perfect, tangible piece of the whole. As months pass, the yard outside the workshop begins to fill with these finished components, all neatly stacked and numbered, ready for their short journey to the Champ de Mars. It looks like the boneyard of some colossal geometric beast. The work is hard, it is loud, it is hot. But there's a deep sense of pride here. These men are not just laborers, they are artisans of a new age. They are building something the world has never seen before. Oh, they are part of a grand adventure. Let these sounds and sensations be your lullaby. The rhythmic clang of the hammer, a steady beat for your resting heart. The warm roar of the forge, a comforting blanket of sound. The sight of sparks dancing in the darkness like fleeting dreams. There is no need to follow every detail. Just allow the atmosphere of creation to surround you. The tower is being born, piece by patient piece. And you are safe here in the heart of a workshop, drifting peacefully, quietly into deep and profound rest. And now, dear friend, let go a little more. Allow your body to feel weightless, your mind to feel free. We leave the fiery workshop behind and travel to the heart of Paris, to the Champ de Mars. Here, the pieces of the dream are coming together. Let the gentle rhythm of our story rock you softly like a boat on a calm sea as you drift ever closer to the shores of deep sleep. For 2 years Paris has watched this strange skeletal creature grow from the ground. The process has been a marvel of quiet efficiency, a vertical ballet unlike anything the world has ever seen. The massive foundations sunk deep into the Parisian earth were laid with painstaking precision. And then the ironwork began on January 28, 1887. The pieces, all perfectly fabricated at the Levallois Perret workshop, arrived on horse-drawn carts. Each piece was marked, each corresponding to a precise location on the master drawings. On site, small steam-powered cranes, which crawled their way up the legs of the tower as it grew, would hoist the massive girders into the sky. And high above the city, the teams of riveters, the skylarkers, performed their fearless, rhythmic work. To the Parisians below it was a daily spectacle. They would gather to watch, their necks craned, their expressions a mixture of awe, skepticism and wonder. The sound of the riveting, that high-pitched rat-a-tat-tat, became the new soundtrack of the city, a constant, metallic heartbeat echoing across the rooftops. The tower grew steadily, relentlessly, at a remarkable pace. First, the 4 immense legs, the feet of the giant, rose from their stone pedestals. Then, in a breathtaking feat of engineering, they began to curve inward, reaching for each other. A massive central wooden scaffold was built to support them until the crucial moment when they would finally meet, creating the first platform. Gustave Eiffel was on this site every day. He was a picture of calm and control. While the newspapers were still debating the tower's aesthetics, he was focused on one thing above all else: the safety of his men. In an age when construction on large projects was notoriously dangerous, Eiffel's site was a model of precaution. He insisted on safety screens, guardrails, and mobile canteens so workers wouldn't have to descend for their meals. His methods were so effective that, remarkably, not a single worker lost his life due to a construction accident on the tower itself. He was not just building a monument of iron, he was building a monument of care and respect for the craftsmen who brought it to life. And so the tower grew. Past the first platform, completed on April 1st, 1888, then the second finished on August 14th of the same year, soaring higher and higher, the lattice of iron becoming ever more delicate against the vast canvas of the sky. The city of Paris, once so horizontal, was being redefined. A new vertical axis was being drawn, pointing toward the future. Now, let us travel to a specific day. The day of the final breath. It is March 31st, 1889. The Great Exposition is scheduled to open in just a few weeks. The tower is structurally complete, but today is the day of its official inauguration. The day Gustave Eiffel will claim the sky. The morning is crisp and cool. A pale spring sun struggles to break through a thin veil of Parisian clouds. A small select crowd has gathered at the base of the tower. They are not the raucous audience of a grand spectacle. They are government officials in their formal coats, fellow engineers, financial backers, and the loyal workers who have spent 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days of their lives on this colossal project. There is a quiet, palpable sense of anticipation in the air. The usual symphony of riveting is silent today. The tower stands complete, a dark, intricate silhouette against the grey sky, waiting. Gustave Eiffel arrives, not with pomp and ceremony, but with the quiet dignity of a man about to complete the work of his life. He is dressed in a fine suit, but his eyes are not on the crowd. His gaze is directed upward, tracing the elegant curve of his creation from its wide, powerful base to its needle-fine point 300 meters above. For him, this is not just a structure of iron. It is a living thing. It is a physical manifestation of a thought, a dream, a memory of a balsa wood toy. He begins to climb. There are no elevators yet, they are still being installed. He, along with a few dignitaries and his core team, will climb the stairs, all 1,710 of them. The ascent is part of the ceremony, a pilgrimage to the summit. Imagine that climb with them. Feel the solid iron of the steps beneath your feet. As they ascend, the sounds of the city begin to fade, replaced by the whisper of the wind moving through the iron lattice. It is a gentle, humming sound, the tower breathing its first breaths. Through the gaps in the filigree structure, Paris unfolds below them like a map. The Seine, a silver ribbon. The Louvre, a palace in miniature. The familiar streets and boulevards, a tidy geometric pattern. They climb higher and higher. The air grows thinner, colder. The scale of the world shifts. They are no longer in the city, they are above it. They are in a new realm, a place of iron and sky. The workers who watch from below grow smaller and smaller until they are just specks on the ground. Finally, after an hour of steady climbing, they reach a small platform at the very top. The pinnacle. Here, the wind is a constant, powerful presence. It sings through the meadow a wild and lonely song. They are standing on a small island in the sky, higher than any human being has ever stood on a man-made structure. The view is breathtaking. The whole of Paris, the whole of the Ile-de-France stretches out to the horizon in every direction. This is a moment of triumph, but it is a quiet triumph, an internal one. There are no roaring crowds up here. There is only the wind, the sky, and the immense, humbling perspective. Gustave Eiffel stands at the edge, his hand resting on a cool iron beam. He looks down at the city he has just transformed forever. The scorn of the artists, the doubts of the politicians. They all seem so small, so distant from up here. He has proven them wrong, not with arguments, but with this undeniable, magnificent reality. One of his men hands him a large French tricolor flag. With steady hands, Gustave attaches it to the halyard at the very top of the spire, and then he raises it. The flag, caught by the wind, unfurls with a sharp snap. Its vibrant red, white and blue a stark, brilliant splash of color against the pale sky. From the ground below a cheer erupts. A 21-gun salute is fired from the first platform, the deep booms echoing across the city. The moment is marked. The tower is complete. It is christened. On this day, Gustave Eiffel is awarded the Legion d'Honneur on the narrow platform at the top. But let us stay here at the top with Gustave. Let us focus on his reaction. He does not smile broadly or pump his fist in the air. That is not his way. Instead, a slow, gentle smile of profound satisfaction touches his lips. A single tear might well in the corner of his eye, a testament to the immense journey from that quiet evening in his study to this windswept peak. He feels the vibration of the tower beneath his feet. the gentle sway that is part of its design, its dance with the wind. He feels not just the cold iron, but the warmth of accomplishment, the deep, soulful fulfillment of seeing a dream, once so fragile and personal, made real for the entire world. He has done more than build the world's tallest structure. He has given Paris a new heart. He has built a love letter to the elegance of engineering. He has taken the raw materials of the industrial age, the iron, the steam, the rivets, and he has created poetry. The first breath has been taken. The tower is alive. And now, as Gustave and his men begin their slow descent back to the earth, you can allow yourself to descend as well. Down, down, down. Into the deepest, most peaceful state of rest. The climax is over. All that is left is a quiet, gentle resolution. Let go. Drift. Sleep. Music swells with a gentle, triumphant feel, then softens back to its continuous, peaceful hum. The great flag has been raised. The tower has been claimed. Now, my friend, our story begins to draw to a close. Let this final chapter be a gentle descent into the softest, deepest sleep. There is no effort required. Simply allow the story to wash over you, to carry you to a place of perfect tranquility and rest. The quiet personal triumph at the pinnacle of the tower was followed by a global celebration. A few weeks after Gustave Eiffel raised the flag, the 1889 Exposition Universelle opened its gates to the world on May 6th. And the tower, once derided as a monstrous factory chimney, was now its undeniable star, its magnificent, welcoming gateway. The initial aftermath was not one of quiet reflection, but of joyous, bustling life. The newly installed elevators, a marvel of modern technology in themselves, began their steady ascent, carrying thousands of visitors a day into the Parisian sky. During the exposition alone, 2 million people visited the tower. It was no longer a silent, static monument. It was alive with people, with sound, with light. Imagine the scene on a summer evening during the exposition. The tower is ablaze with light, illuminated by thousands of gas lamps, and at its peak, a powerful electric beacon, a lighthouse for a modern age that sweeps its beams across the sleeping city. The light is a declaration, a new era has dawned. From the platforms, the sound of orchestras and the cheerful chatter of a dozen languages drift down into the night air. People from every corner of the globe have come to see this wonder. They gaze out at the sparkling panorama of Paris, their faces filled with awe. For the first time, ordinary people could see their world from a godlike perspective. The tower was not just an engineering feat, it was a deeply democratic experience. It lifted everyone, regardless of station, up to the same magnificent view. The artists and writers who had once scorned the tower began to see it differently. Some, like Guy de Maupassant, famously claimed to eat lunch in the tower's restaurant every day because it was the only place in Paris he could not see it. But many others were won over. They saw the way the light played through its intricate iron lacework. They saw the way it changed its mood with the weather, sometimes dark and imposing against a stormy sky, sometimes a delicate, sun-drenched silhouette at dawn. They began to paint it, to write about it. The tower was slowly, surely, weaving its way into the cultural fabric, into the very soul of Paris. It was intended to be a temporary structure built to stand for only 20 years before being dismantled. That was the plan. But the tower had other ideas. It had already captured the world's imagination. And, more practically, it had proven its scientific utility. Gustave Eiffel, ever the pragmatist, had built a small meteorology lab and an apartment for himself at the top, a quiet retreat in the clouds. The tower became an invaluable tool for weather forecasting, for atmospheric studies, and crucially for the new science of radiotelegraphy. It became a vital communications antenna, connecting France to the world in a way no one had foreseen. The useless tower had made itself indispensable. Its life was spared. And so the years turned into decades. The tower stood, a silent, steadfast witness to the unfolding of a new century. It watched as the gas lamps of Paris were replaced by the steady glow of electric lights. It watched as horse-drawn carriages gave way to motor cars. It stood through the darkness of 2 world wars, a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope in a troubled world. During World War II, French resistance fighters famously cut the elevator cables, forcing any visiting German officers to climb the stairs if they wanted to reach the top. The odious column of bolted metal had become the most beloved and recognized icon on the planet. It was no longer Gustave's tower. It belonged to everyone. Let us return one last time to the human anchor of our story. Let us imagine Gustave Eiffel many years later. He is an old man now, his hair white, his movements slow. He is sitting on a bench in the Champ de Mars, the park that is the tower's front garden. It is a quiet afternoon. Children are playing nearby, their laughter like little bells on the air. He looks up at the great iron structure that bears his name. He is not looking with the critical eye of an engineer anymore. He is looking with the soft, reflective gaze of a father, a creator, looking upon his child, now fully grown and living a life of its own. He remembers the quiet evenings in his study, the faint smell of graphite, the soft scratch of his pencil on vellum. He remembers the fierce arguments of his critics and the quiet resolve of his loyal team. He remembers the rhythmic clang of the forges, the scent of hot iron, the sight of the first great leg rising from the earth. He remembers the wind on his face at the summit, the feel of the flag's halyard in his hands, and the deep, profound satisfaction of that moment. And most clearly of all, he remembers a little girl, weak but with curious eyes, in a quiet, sunlit bedroom. He remembers the feel of tiny balsa wood sticks in his hands, and the painstaking process of gluing them together. He remembers her voice, a sweet, clear whisper asking, "Papa, how can so many little bones hold up so much air?" He smiles a gentle, knowing smile. He had found the answer. And there it stands, magnificent and graceful against the Parisian sky for all the world to see. A tower of bones and air, a structure of strength and lightness, a dream born of love, forged in iron and given to the ages. His work is done. The journey is complete. The legacy is secure. And now, dear friend, your journey for today is also complete. The story is told. The world of history and invention fades away, leaving only the peace and stillness of this present moment. The dream of a great tower began with a single quiet spark, and so it is with sleep. It begins with a single gentle breath, with the simple act of letting go. May your own dreams tonight be as inspiring and as beautiful as the vision that rose from a father's love. May you build your own towers of rest and tranquility, and may you wake in the morning feeling refreshed, restored, and ready for a new day. Sleep now. Sleep well. A blissful night's rest awaits